That's really interesting what's going on right now. A lot of people have been talking about the Series S holding technology back and holding gaming back, holding progress back. And to some degrees, they may be correct due to the limitations of that little box. Despite the fact of how powerful it does have its limitations. However, fast forward to the Witcher 4 interview with CD Projekt Red, well, we're kind of back into the same situation, but this time it's not so much the Series S, but in general, consoles holding back gaming. And why do I say this? Well, just listen to this clip.
A 60 FPS target. So why show it off on PS5 first? Why target 60 FPS?
I think that when we started the collaboration, we had, we have super high ambition for this project, and we always, as you said, we always do PC and we push, and then we try to scale down. But then we had so many problems in the past that we tried to see, okay, this time around we really want to be more console first development, right? So and then we worked with Unreal, with our partner, and then we saw the challenge to realize the ambition that, to make what we want as 60 FPS on PS5 would be, there would be work. And this is why we started to talk to figure out what needs to be done with the technology. And we also decided, okay, we need to have all those things that needs to be developed. Where we go from there, it's hard to say, but right now we really wanted to focus on what does it mean to make this ambition on a console. And we have all our other projects at 60 FPS, and we really wanted to also to aim for 60 FPS once again, and not go back to 30 FPS or something like that.
Yeah, and it was a mutually shared ambition together with Epic, right? So when we started talking about it, that I think that was literally like the first pillar we established together, that this is gonna be a console 60 FPS
no
demo.
Fake console 60 FPS, fit in memory,
constrained by platform, pretty much.
Yeah.
So scaling up, but scaling down. We have an Xbox Series S out there, if you've ever heard of it. And you guys did scale, I'd say, rather gracefully in CP2077 onto the Xbox Series S. Where do you take a demo like this and get it running on something with less memory and far less GPU resources?
Well, I wish we did a lot of work already on that, but we did not. So this is something that is next on our radar for sure. I will be, well, again, maybe, but I will say that 60 FPS will definitely be extremely challenging on the Series S. Let's just say that it's something that we need to figure out.
So you heard them talking about Cyberpunk 2077 and how they developed PC first. They pushed it to, great graphical lengths, and well and truly this game looks phenomenal on PC. You enable path tracing as well, and it is graphically one of the greatest things you'll see. It is just absolutely mind-blowing. Witcher 4 obviously is going to another level with Unreal 5, but what they achieved on the PC with the highest tier graphics cards at the time, the 4090, was just mind-blowing. But the problem with that was that they developed for the highest denominator in mind, and then when it came to developing for the lowest denominator, which was the PS4 and the Xbox One, things broke down quite quickly because the resources that the highest denominator had, the lowest denominator didn't, and that's where problems started to occur. But now what we're having and what we're seeing now is something completely different. They're actually developing for console first. Now this basically is telling you that even though PC is capable of just offering you more, grander and better, you're just not going to get it. And so right now, in essence, gaming isn't being, I guess, held back because of PC, but now it's being held back because of consoles. Now this was the demo, as you saw, was on PlayStation 5, and they're using that as the base. Obviously there is one below that, which is the Series S, so they still need to take that into consideration. But it's clear that, The Witcher 4 is going to have restrictions, limitations, and, just basically be blocked on what it could potentially and ultimately realistically do because it's not being developed PC first. So we're back into this game again where instead of now the Series S being the issue, consoles are being put to the forefront, and rightfully so. PC gamers who have invested in their 4080s, 5080s, 5090s are now a little bit aggrieved because, well, let's face it, you pay a lot of money, you want to get your money's worth when it comes to these games performing, And well, you know, at the end of the day, if your game is now being limited, that's a problem. Of course, the Series S will always be the enigma in this, whether the PS5 existed or not, because at the end of the day, the Series S is the lowest denominator when it comes to this. I don't see Witcher 4 releasing on the Switch 2, but if it did, that would now be the lowest denominator because the Switch 2 is not more powerful than the Series S. So at that point, the Switch 2 now becomes the lowest denominator. Can you honestly see Witcher 4 on the Switch 2? Maybe. I mean, I guess they did do the Hogwarts, but can you see where I'm going now? The limitations of that console will have a knock-on effect to every single version of the game. And this is where the problem lies. Now, people are now obviously championing this because it's being developed PlayStation first, well, console first, with PlayStation being the base kind of borderline platform, which makes sense to a certain degree with its market share. But is that really what we want? Do we not want these developers to perform and develop for excellence? Should Witcher 4 just not skip this generation and go to the next generation of consoles where it's going to deliver a better performance, a better fidelity, just a better experience? Why rush it out for this generation? And the problem is, it's probably going to be cross-generational as well, because these companies are going to try and, you know, double dip on that money. So I don't know. I feel really odd about this. I want the best experience for my money. I want the best experience for when I play the game. And after this conversation, I expect the Series S to run it at 30 FPS. No one is expecting the Series S to go 60 FPS. I mean, 60 FPS is nice on the Series S, don't get me wrong, and it can be done, but I personally feel that 30 FPS on that device, on a $200 device, I guess it's more now with the price increase, is acceptable. But the price it is right now, I probably will say that it's kind of bordering on that acceptability. But for its hardware specs, it's acceptable. So I don't know, I just feel really kind of odd when it comes to this, because a lot of people have been saying, oh, the Series S is holding gaming back and this and that, and, you know, we want more. Just like Horizon, right? They wanted to do flying, but because of the PS4, they couldn't do it because the tech just wasn't there. And then when they made the next game, they kind of, because they made it backwards compatible, I believe it was the next game, they had limitations as well. And I mean, I could be wrong with that one. It's just something I remember years ago in the interview when they were doing it. And, you know, they said that they had limitations due to the previous hardware, and there were just certain things they couldn't do. And that just gets me thinking and wondering, what creative ideas are they leaving on the table? Because the PC in its current state and form can handle it, but the current gen consoles, ranging from the Switch 2 all the way to the PS5 Pro, can't. And that's what is actually ultimately disappointing on all of this. So if you ask me, what they should do personally is skip this generation entirely, release it for the PlayStation 6 and the Xbox Prime, whatever that's going to be called, drop the Switch 2 entirely because it's just going to, or just make a separate version of that game, a complete separate SKU for the Switch 2 on its own, so it's its own thing that doesn't interfere with the next generation, and do it that way, and do not make it, you know, cross-generational. I know that might sound elitist, but at the end of the day, we want games to be at their best, and when they're limited and when they're hindered and when they have to compromise, when they have to drop features because of hardware limitations, that then gives you a lesser experience. That's just my thoughts on this. Let me know what you think. I know there's currently a conversation online, and, you know, for once, I agree with Nibs on this one. I know, shock horror, don't come at me. But he said that he doesn't know how he feels about this. He doesn't quite like the fact that, you know, those that are investing in these high level graphics cards, expensive graphics cards, are now not getting the experience they could get because of the direction CD Projekt Red is taking. Obviously for them, they're looking at, you know, which kind of community buys more games, and obviously they're looking at the console market here, where you've got Nintendo, Xbox, and PlayStation all combined, probably coming together, buy more games than PC on its own. Whether that's true or not, I don't have the stats, so I'm not going to make a definitive response on that. But the bottom line is they're clearly following the trail of money and market share rather than delivering the best possible product they can. And I get it as a business, but at some point you kind of have to make that decision. And in my opinion, that decision should be, let's make this next gen, not this current gen with the PS5 and the Series X and the Switch 2. Let's make it next gen with the PS6 and the Xbox Prime. That way, PC can do what it needs to do, run at its best performance, and the consoles should, in theory, be able to keep up with it. Even if they have to lower the resolution and lower the texture slightly, they should still be able to maintain that level of 60 FPS at the base minimum, because let's just hope they're not going to put 13 gigs of RAM in these machines again and assume that they're going to put somewhere in the region of 24 to 32. Ideally, 32 gigs of RAM, because that's really becoming the norm for Windows right now. Anyway, that's my thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Let's have that discussion, and I will see you in the next one. As always, like and subscribe, hit the bell to stay up to date with all content I release. Happy Father's Day, and I'll see you in the next one. Main Legend.